I'm so excited. Thank you for your time.
And thanks for having me.
You've just been nominated for WA Country Music Awards. You've
Yeah,
received many in the past as well. First of all, congratulations.
thank you.
Being recognized for the work that you do must feel really good, first of all.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It always is like, you kind of put your songs or whatever it is, video clip into these awards, and you kind of think, there's so many artists that I admire out there that are also going to be putting it in there. And a lot of them are a lot younger than me and a lot poppier than me and a lot more country than me. And so when you do get a nomination, I'm kind of like, oh, all right, that's good. That's exciting. I'm still writing something that is appealing to the judges at least.
Yes. Yeah. I'm curious though, and like, so you've been in music, you're very, very well respected, not just in the local scene, a very well respected musician, but from a practical sense, when you get awards, nominations, or finalists, as you have done, do you see that translate into, whether it's like people who listen to your music, fans that come to your shows, the number of tickets that you sell to a show? How does that translate to, I guess, other areas of your music?
I think I think when it comes to like tickets to shows or anything like that, like I don't measure that. The only way we could actually figure out whether it was because they knew of me through an award or they've actually the awards helped us get onto a festival slot. Like no one actually says that to you, so to measure it, and my day job and my past is actually analytical. So
Very
which is
cool.
why I kind of go, well, there's no measure. So I can't really give like it's definitely I think they definitely help with things like grants and festivals. Like it does help, but I don't really know how much.
Yeah.
I think on the other side of it, there's a lot you can take from it from a marketing perspective. So, you've got like that we were nominated for awards. Um, and we can use their audience and we can have an award in our hand, and all these people that might just be voyeurs watching us on Facebook or whatever, all of a sudden you've got all these people actually liking and commenting and liking and commenting when you actually get those um that recognition, so
Yeah.
it helps spread to some degree because you've got a really nice thing and so many people are out there wanting you to succeed, that when you do get something like that and they believe that you deserve it, whether they like our music or whether they see us working hard, there's two options, but it's either way. They think for some reason we deserve it, and so they comment, and then everybody sees that people are saying that we deserve it. So it's
Yeah,
like,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, surely that validation, does that change the way that you perceive yourself? A lot of musicians we get in our own head sometimes, but when you get that validation, does that give you the conviction to continue exploring, continue growing, or pushing your own boundaries?
I think I think it does. Like even though there's so much of us that kind of, you don't like to be a musician, you can't rely on feedback being positive, right? Because not everyone's going to like your music, and that's
Yeah.
an okay thing. So I think even though you want to push through as a musician and you just want to create and you want to do your music your way and you want to send your message or connect in a certain way that you want to, I think that when there is that little validation, well, otherwise you wouldn't put it in for a competition, right? So there's
Valid.
a,
Yeah.
a little bit of validation there that you kind of go, okay, great. It gives you like a little bit more of a push, or even sometimes I've actually been um, like if you're planning a kind of a release or something and you're kind of waiting on an awards outcome to actually come to help you in your release
Ah.
strategy, or so you've got an additional thing to kind of go, I've just been nominated for this and here's my new album.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
So it does. There's definitely been times where I've been like, oh, where's the timing, like that we should have known by now so that it fits in with my actual marketing schedule and to promote. So, you can time things around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like when you recorded Take It or Leave It, did you feel like now this is um this is something special, not just like, it's good and I'm proud of it, but like this is special and is gonna compete at that level in these sorts of things?
Um, oh, you know, yeah. That's such a hard question because like I don't think I'm ever going to feel that way. I don't think I'm ever going to feel like anything is good enough that it competes. And I think I'm not I'm not wanting to write pop music or songs that are very commercial. It's not the way I write, and it's not the way I perform either. Um, so I quite often just think, well, this is the best song that I can make of this song. This is the best version of the song that and I hope people like it. I hope it resonates. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to try and make it a song that competes in a more popular kind of a
Yeah, okay.
place. I just want
Yeah.
to make it the way that I want to make it. And if it happens to be a song that kind of works a little bit better than another, then you know, um, yeah, but I don't ever think it's ever going to get into. Um, I don't think of it in that way. Like, where's it going to sit in the
Sure.
market, or
Okay.
where's it going to sit in competition to others? I just kind of go, well, it is what it is, and this is where I'm at the moment, and that's what I want to say, and that's what I've created, and so let's put it out there and see what happens.
Gold, gold. You like you've done so well. Like, I've seen like the tours that you do and some of the festivals that you do. And um, do you do you get less than favorable feedback? Do people ever share something with you that doesn't gel with what you thought?
Like your show was shit.
If, yeah, I guess, or somewhere on that spectrum.
Yeah, oh, I don't think. Um, in all the time that I've been doing it, and part of the reason why I started playing music in Fremantle, or like once I moved over here, was because I was surrounded by so many people that are so encouraging. And I think, like, I don't know, you hear these horror stories, but I think because I entered in as an older person, um, like the thing with like engaging more female musicians and all these um, shitty things that can happen sometimes, they don't apply to me. And I don't think I'm in a genre or like a demographic that actually has people that are that shallow anymore. Like we
Right.
all get a little bit more aware as we grow older, meaning my demographic is a little older, so that everyone's really kind.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if anything, if there is critique, it's more in a constructive way. When I first started playing, I did a show in Melbourne, and it was just a duo show, and there was a guy in the audience who he came to our show last time when we were in Melbourne as a band, and he hasn't seen me as a band. And I said to him, Jeff, you are one of the reasons why I don't say certain things on stage anymore. And he said, why? So because you came up to me after the show and you said, Helen, do you want people to feel sorry for you? And I said, no.
Wow.
And he said, well, because what you're saying, the way that you're saying it made me feel a bit sorry for you. Like, because I was saying that, I wasn't putting myself down, but I wasn't overly confident in what I was doing and how I was saying it. And it was more to share with the audience that I wasn't that confident. But he took it as,
Wow.
and it was a really nice perspective to hear back. Like it was, even though it could be taken however many ways, I took it as if, good point. Like, I don't want my audience to feel that way. So it made me really think about, what do I want to say and how do I want them to feel? Like there's a difference between getting them to connect with me
Mm.
than giving them a feeling of something that, you don't want them to feel about you.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah. Wow.
as far as, you know, feedback that wasn't so great, not yet. Not
Yeah, good.
yet.
And I think that's, for so many people, that is a massive fear driver. But in reality, like, I can't remember a time where someone's like, um, told me that that's actually happened, like,
Yeah,
like it. And I think you talk about a supportive community, and that's only ever been my experience in
yeah,
music. And people, I think, are so afraid to get, yeah, like, shit show, or you're terrible or whatever, and it prevents them from giving something a crack. But I think that that's
yeah.
far more perception than reality.
Well, I think there's been plenty of times where I've walked off stage and our show has been a little bit shitter than normal, or a little bit shit. And definitely, like if you're in a lineup or if it's a festival, the next band coming on, everybody, the stage managers, everybody, they always say, great set,
Yeah,
and it's so you feel like, thank you very much. Like, and you know yourself whether or not it's how you wanted it to be. And it's all about your own expectation in the moment anyway. But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, I've never had anyone give me anything but support and, great set and great show or whatever,
yeah.
it's
Love
been
that.
great. Yeah.
Love that. Now, in your bio, you mentioned that you started this project or this journey later in life. That's something that I'm certainly seeing a fair bit of. Was there a trigger for you? Is there a point or something that happened where you just went, "I'm going to do it. I'm gonna do some music."
Yeah, yeah, there was actually. So I grew up in New South Wales and I was working, when I was younger, I wanted to be into doing art. I was a bit of a drawer and a painter, and I wanted to do sign writing for a living.
Right.
And I couldn't get an apprenticeship as a signwriter because I was female, and it was in 1986 when
Yeah.
it
Right.
was a little bit difficult for females to get into any of those industries. And I was having a real hard time with that whole thing. And my dad said to me, "Come work for me." And I was like, "Doing what?" He's like, "Come be a mechanical engineer." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't want to be a mechanical engineer. But is there any drawing in it?" And he said, "Yeah, there's drafting." So I went and did drafting for a living.
Wow.
And so I'm a draftsperson by trade in the metal industry. And in that time, I went working for my dad's business. And it's interesting when you work for your parent, how much you conform to certain expectations that you don't really realize until
Right.
a little bit later. So, I conformed to I wanted to get tattoos when I was younger and I didn't get tattoos because I worked at dad's work, and I wanted to do this and I didn't do that because I worked at dad's work. And,
Yeah. Right.
I would be presented as, a little bit, not that, not proud, but he was incredibly conservative,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and had expectations. Men couldn't have long hair, and you couldn't be an artist, you couldn't make money through music or art, or that was just for hippies and pot smokers. So
Yeah.
so he actually, I worked with him until I was about 2009, until about 2008 actually. And we I he my father passed away of Parkinson's disease. And when he started to get sick, he was coming to work all the time, and there was a bit of dementia that came with it. And I could see that the other managers, and in particular a general manager, was taking advantage of him. So I wanted to either jump right in and take over the business or jump right out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It turned out that I had to jump right out. And in doing so, I thought, I'm never going to be able to get a job in New South Wales or in Sydney in the same industry. So I sold my house with my husband and my two kids, and we got into a caravan and we traveled around Australia for a bit, and then ended up in
Wow.
Perth. And yeah, and that's where I picked up my guitar away from the expectation of what I should be, and and got involved here at, like, with the local community, and started playing music. And they were all like, "You should be in my band, you should do this, you should do that." And I'm like, "Really? No way." So they were just really,
Yeah.
really encouraging to support me in
Yeah.
getting up. And yeah.
You must have had some bottled creativity. Like,
Well, I did always have a guitar. So in between learning that, I did escape when I was 24 and I went overseas for about 3 years. And I ran a backpackers in Belfast for a little while.
Of course. Yeah.
And so with that, I learnt. So I used to have backpackers coming through all the time, and a lot of them wouldn't have guitars, but I bought a guitar in London, and they would come through the backpackers, and they'd be like, "Oh, you got a guitar? Can I have a go?" And I'm like, "You're a player. What do you know?" So I would write down all the chords, and they would teach me songs, and I would then like play at night.
Yeah.
So when all the pubs shut, people would come back to our hostel, and we'd sit around playing instruments. But for the people that didn't play, I would just get pots and pans out and rice shakers and get everybody involved around the fireplace, and we just have sing-alongs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
magic.
so it was always there, but I did come home pregnant after my 3 years trip. So parenting kind of got in the way for a little while, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it was just a bit of a hobby. I called myself a campfire guitarist, and my problem was that the music that I knew and that I could play was definitely not stuff that friends wanted to hear around the campfire, like the usual AC/DC and all
Yeah,
that.
right.
I
Yeah.
didn't know, but that's what they wanted to sing.
There
Hunters
you
and
are.
collectors.
Take it or leave it. The album, you've just recorded that. That's just come out. I'm always fascinated. Like, how does this album compare to like Wayward Heart? Which 2015 in my head isn't that long ago, but it's like 10 years ago, right? Like
Yeah, I
it's
know.
just gone.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like what's changed for you in your songwriting or how you went about it?
Well, in 2015, when I did Wayward Heart, I was in the process of some of the songs were written in the process of my breakup with my husband.
Right.
Um, and basically, we came over here, and when I got into music, he was not that impressed. So he wanted me to be back doing what I was doing when we got married, which is okay. But I really wanted to get more involved with the music. And he didn't. So a lot of that Wayward Heart was my first ever, I penned all those songs and I played them around campfires here when I had friends over. And my partner at the time said to me, which was a couple of years after we'd broken up, but all the songs were penned around that time. And he's like, "Well, just record it." And I'm like, "Oh, I couldn't record this. There's no way in the world. I don't have a band, I don't have anyone." So he looked up some local artists who could back me, and he said, I'll pay for your EP to get out there. And so he
Oh
helped me.
wow.
Yeah, he helped me get there by suggesting this person and that person. And so we threw them all together and went to a studio and had a go. So I didn't
Fantastic.
really know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. I thought I was just, you know, well, to the point where I didn't even send it to radio stations. I didn't do anything with it. I basically just got an EP, decided to have a launch, was scared shitless, did a launch down at Clancy's, and I sold a ton of CDs. And
Wow.
and I was like, well, what do I do now with it? I didn't know I should tour. I didn't know anything about the whole release process. I just thought it was, if I've got an EP or something, I can go to a gig and sell some. So that's what I did. And now the difference between Take It or Leave It and that was I spent a lot of time working on video clips and promotion and touring and
Yeah.
everything on the total opposite end to how I started.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about the actual evolution of songwriting? Like, how does Helen Townsend write a song?
Well, that's probably hasn't changed too much, except for the fact that I now bring others into my songwriting. So Belle
Oh,
Harvey, who I did a lot of touring with uh, before Wayward Hearts kind of came about. Um, she's really good with composition. And because I'm a self-taught guitarist, I am a little bit limited. The lyrical side of it, I can write 200 poems in a week if I sat down and did it. But I get stuck with um, I get stuck with kind of putting music to my lyrics. So Bell helps me with that at times. Other times they come really easily and everything's fine. But um I think I would do a little bit more in the pre-prod and bring my band members into it and kind of go, how can we shape this to be a little bit better of song and the song that kind of suits our vibe? And yeah, and in this particular case, I did that with the band first, and then I went to Dan Carroll at Rada Studios,
Right.
and Dan helped me shape them a lot, as well as Ben Franz actually from the Waves, who we all know.
Unreal. Unreal.
Yeah.
And so what's the goal? Like what's the plan here? Like where do we go from here?
Yeah, no, good question. Good question. It's been really interesting actually because um this time with this album, because I haven't really known how to promote, and it seems like every time I do an album or something, there's some family emergency or some family thing that comes into play that really limits my ability to kind of, get
Yeah, yeah,
things
yeah.
out, being a mum. And I've actually written about those in my songs. But yeah, so the last time I did an album, I really didn't do a lot of promotion. Shannon and I, when we did our EP together, we did a lot of promotion with that and we toured it in the States. And so that gave us a little taste of it. And this time, having Shannon involved in the background and also in the production and just having his songwriting skill as well, it definitely he was keen. We were like, we're a team. We can do this. We can actually do a little bit more than what we've done in the past. And so, we kind of overshot the mark, really, slightly. we, with 7 video clips that all roll into each other, we went to marketing teams to ask if they would help promote it. And a lot of them were like, you're way too ambitious. That is not going to happen. We're not going to take you on. So we had a really hard time getting people to help us with the rollout of it because
Wow.
we were too ambitious. So we just went hard ourselves and had to go.
And how do you
Yeah.
feel it went?
Well, I think it's done really, really well. I think as you said, like where to from here, I think when you don't really know what it is that what outcome you're after, um, I think you can kind of just get lost in the doing and what you think you have to do. And I think we got lost in that a little bit. And
Okay.
I think some of our outcomes are amazing. Um, and I think things change so quickly, like the way to release music at the moment. Like,
Mm,
you know, to be honest, like my singles, that all went really well. But when you look at the album streams or anything like that, if you want to go with album streams, because of course, Spotify doesn't, none of those streaming platforms really do much for us at all anyway, unless you're a big
no.
artist. So, yeah, I think the singles being released in that way definitely get a little bit more, it gives you something to talk about. It helps the radio stations understand
For
what
sure.
they're to promote for you and what they're to kind of, what song they're meant to be playing of yours.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you give everybody an album, everyone is so swamped with so much information and so much music, they don't have time to listen to the album and choose a track, So
Mm,
I think I think with releasing singles in the current way, unless you're a big artist, I don't know whether I would do an album in its whole entirety.
yeah.
Again, I think I would pause and just kind of, so in future, maybe that's what I'll do. Kind of like just release a couple of songs every now and again. I think it gives you enough traction to
Yeah.
to and it doesn't overwhelm you and it doesn't break the bank. It doesn't put stress on you in that type of way as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Is it a little bit because an album is such a marathon, and I know I'm gibbering on here, but I'm just fascinated, Helen. An album is such a marathon, right? The amount of work that goes into doing that, recording it and releasing it. How do you kind of cope when they can't all be favorites? They can't all, or that they're not all singles, right? So you've got these little pieces of our soul that we put
Yeah.
into these songs, and
Yeah.
you release an album and you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, but they don't all get the limelight that they deserve. How do you cope when you kind of look at that?
Yeah, well, I think it's like the singles that I released were more like the A side of an LP, say, and the ones that are left on the album and got sent as the album are the B side. And I don't know how many people say that they like the B side of records better than the A side now that they've listened to them over and over again.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and so, I'm hoping my little B side that is on the album will kind of grow legs for people that listen to my music, and they're probably the more like they're all songs from the heart to some degree. Like they're they're the more painful ones more than likely. The more
mm,
harder to write songs, the more close to close to the emotional trip, whatever it was at the time, or a family event, or so I've got
yeah,
a song in there about my son, called Better Days. And that I really like that song, but I didn't feel I could release it as a single. I didn't feel like,
yeah,
you're choosing something that you feel like radio stations are going to jump on, or somebody's going to hear and want to put in a playlist. And so
yeah,
you don't really choose your favorite songs all the time to get out
yeah.
there.
But and as you said, I think your followers, the diehards, are going to really appreciate that album, and they're the ones that are going to be, singing along at your shows and things like that. And it may not be, sent out to the masses in the wide world, but I think the people that are really invested in you as a musician are the ones that are really going to value that.
Yeah.
And I guess they're the relationships I think that really matter. Like,
Yeah.
we can have a handful of people that are on our journey with us, and they're the ones that I think can make it really, really special.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely lovely seeing people sing along in the audience, especially when it's like a slower song that you didn't kind of, you didn't want to push or promote too much. And yeah, it's a bit of a thrill.
yeah, amazing. Helen, thank you so much for your time. I could talk to you for hours. You're fascinating. I really appreciate what you've been able to share, and your real transparency and honesty. And I wish you the best for the rest of 2025. I can't wait to see like where you kind of go from here, and what you do. Yeah, look forward to watching. Thank you.
And thank you so much for having me on, Michael. It's lovely talking to you.
All over again.